go talk to people.
There, now we're recording. Awesome.
I see the
looks
little
like people are
recording.
coming in. Yes.
Exciting.
Very convenient, actually. Cool. Are you nervous, Lily? Don't be nervous.
Yes.
We don't fight.
I just want friends.
Okay, awesome. So people are coming in. So while people are coming in, let me just get through some of the process stuff. For people who want to ask questions, feel free to use the community event text channel. Drop your questions there, and after we go through all the prepared material that Lily will share, we will go through some of the questions in the channel. And that is it. The standard process of this tea time is it's more of a casual chat through with some of our tech teams and squads. We have the first half for some prepared answers and material that we will share. We hope to be able to share some demos later on as well. And then after that, the latter half of the chat will be open questions for everybody to just ask. So drop your questions in the community events tab. With that, let us kick off. So I would love to welcome Lily, who is coming from the mainstream squad of our entire product team. For this tea time, she will be introducing what exactly is a mainstream squad, what do they have in the roadmap, and exciting stuff that they have in store for us. So I will let all the exciting stuff be introduced by Lily. Lily, can you take the floor? Who are you and what is the mainstream squad?
Who am I? Hi, everybody. I'm Lily. I am the product manager of one of the squads here that, as Nigel said, has been captured as mainstream, which is delightfully vague in terms of what we actually do. But what the kind of mission of our team is to be able to make Immutable X more friendly to people that aren't necessarily crypto native. Really means is reducing friction for people to get involved. So that kind of benefits everybody. The key things that we have been working on has been things that you should be able to see in the marketplace right now before we kind of release to everybody because we know it works now. But it's things like MoonPay, which lets people kind of buy L2 currency and have it deposited directly into their L2 wallets rather than going through, and engaging with L1 and everything else. And it's also things like creating wallets more easily so that if you aren't, crypto native, crypto savvy, you don't have to kind of engage with a process you're super unfamiliar with, which is kind of all the MetaMask fun. So those are the kinds of things that we are building. And the way that you guys end up seeing it is like if you're a developer, you'll be able to access some of those features in your own builds. If you're an end user, you'll be able to see it kind of at the moment manifesting with the Immutable X marketplace. And so those are the things we kind of build to try and make everybody's lives a little bit less frictionless, a little bit less frictionful.
Awesome. And maybe you could share a little bit on why is having a mainstream squad important? Why did we create a squad dedicated for quote unquote mainstream?
Yeah. So for us, we think there's a really, really strong and really dedicated community of crypto native users, right? Who are the first people to adopt it and have really strong belief in it and are very patient. So they're willing to take on friction because they know it's a new space and they know that it's going to develop with time. But obviously, in order to get the uptake and kind of like the legitimization of this like really new infant kind of community to grow really fast, we want to make it as easy as possible for people who don't know the space to get engaged. Because that's the way you're gonna, be able to build things, to be able to really make sure it's super stable and get kind of the buy-in you want, not just from people who already believe, but to convert those people into users and believers. And so we think it's super important that we make it as easy as possible for them to do that, but also build things that benefits those who are already engaged, right? Um, yeah.
Got it. And how do you think this sets us apart as Immutable? Like, is this strategic? Why are we spending so much resources here? Does this does this fight against competitors? Well, why should people be excited that we have a mainstream squad?
Well, I think for people, what it means is that Immutable is super invested in long term. So we're not just building for the things that are super popular right now, but we want to build enablers for large groups in the future. And so anyone who is a early adopter of crypto should be super excited by that because obviously as everything grows, you being an early participant is super beneficial. Right? Like you are like an early buyer of an NFT project, that's way better than jumping onto the bandwagon later. But it needs the bandwagon itself to be pretty busy. And so I think for us, having that kind of long term view of, okay, how do we actually make the adoption of this super widespread so that people who are already in the community can benefit even more is like extremely important. I think the other thing is like the crypto community will deal with friction because they believe in it long term. But nobody likes it, right? Like no one's like, this is super fun part of my engagement with this. So even though it is like something that is critical for mainstream users, it actually still has a benefit for everybody else because it just makes everybody's lives a little bit easier, which is always better than making it harder.
Yeah, for sure. What's crappy and friction full right now that's top of mind for the squad?
I think the one that is like super top of mind is when games are trying to go the NFT route and trying to get their users to engage. And what does that look like, right? Because like our expectation as a community for games is super high. We expect it to be beautiful. We expect it to be seamless. And right now, most crypto things are not there yet because we're still building a lot of the foundations, right? And so we want to bridge that gap as soon as we can, and we want to make it as easy as possible for those games to do that successfully. And so when you're playing a game, you don't necessarily want to be like, cool, it's very, very obvious to me that I'm dealing with NFTs because like I keep seeing random things to sign or like I'm being routed from like 6 different tabs to try and make an action go through. We want it to look like how you would play a game now, right? And we want you to enjoy the process of playing that game with the benefit of, all the things that NFTs and whatnot provide, rather than I'm doing this because I want to get the NFT out of it, right? Like bringing the enjoyment back to the kind of NFT gaming space is super important because that's the only way it's going to have longevity. Is that people genuinely enjoy those experiences. And then the other top of mind one is just, how do we make it easier for people to get, the currency they want to use onto L2? Because right now the friction is, well, you need to have it on L1, you need to transfer it to L2, you need to kind of go through that process. And we really want to make it easier for people to engage.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. So I think a lot of the pain that Immutable X users feel right now is there really isn't a lot of user-friendly stuff at the moment. There is a lot of friction for sure across all our ecosystem. What then is within the mainstream squad scope? Like, hey, there's a lot of different things we can fix, but what are the things mainstream squad is fixing so that people know that this is like within your mission?
Yeah. So one of the big things for us is making sure kind of getting the currencies you need is as easy as possible. So if you're on our marketplace, you'll be able to see that you can use MoonPay. We've released the SDK docs for that so that anyone building can do it. we're going to focus on building that integration out so it isn't just ETH, so we can get the currencies that our users really care about onto that platform. So that's obviously like USDC is going to be a big one, and like IMX is going to be a big one. And also, we're working very closely with MoonPay to make sure that the needs of our users are heard because we have that benefit of being able to at least like tap someone on the shoulder. So that's one of them, and the other one is obviously like we have the process of getting primary sales done and drops done is still not as easy as one would hope. So we're going to start working on looking at how to make that easier for people, and that might start off with like when you're trying to buy a drop, you can use your credit card immediately instead of having to kind of make sure you have the crypto to pay for it, things like that.
Got it. So if it's related to the marketplace and the friction in the marketplace and making the UI and UX better, is that within the mainstream squad scope, or is that a separate squad?
For the things that are on like the IMX marketplace, for example, so that sits with the marketplace squad. The things we're talking about are more kind of protocol level improvements so that like all the marketplaces and all the games that engage and are built on Immutable X have that benefit. But like the marketplace specific stuff sits with the marketplace team.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's most of my like intro questions. I know that took a long time. Before we even get any deeper, actually, I'm sorry I went straight to the questions. I was so excited. Maybe Lily could share a little bit about you and do an intro about how you got here and what got you into the marketplace. Oh, sorry, the mainstream one.
Sure. So I don't think I have what you would call like a generic background for someone who works at a crypto company. I was a consultant in another life, um, sort of solving problems for like super established, super gigantic companies here in Australia. It was really fun. Very different kind of set of problems. But I ended up moving over to Immutable because it was an opportunity to build something like truly different, and it's also obviously like an industry that is really starting to take off. And I think like the comparison has been made. It's like, oh, it's like working for Google in the 90s kind of thing. And I think that's what drew me to it because like realistically this is my one chance to get involved with something that is going to be so impactful and kind of realistically change how people engage on a day-to-day basis. Maybe not in a year, but like in the future sometime. And so that's kind of what brought me over here generally. And then the mainstream stuff was part of the joy, I guess, of trying to build things that are really easy is sometimes there's lots of regulations around it. And so I have a little bit of experience there. So I was able to help out and kind of move into that product space, which was super, super exciting. Yeah, and now I'm here.
Got it. Awesome. Speaking of regulations, before I know you have some stuff prepared for us. Maybe it'll be cool to share a little bit about what were the bumps or challenges that you faced when you tried to implement MoonPay. I personally know that there were actually a lot of regulations to consider for that.
Yeah. Working in crypto right now and dealing with regulations is kind of like round big square hole kind of situation because regulators have not caught up. Like they don't really understand in depth what we do, how it works. Like trying to explain the concept that like we don't actually hold the money. Like the smart contract just moves it. Does it super compute right now? And so there's a lot of hurdles to clear while you're trying to kind of understand how what we're trying to do, which is like make like paying for things in crypto or anything else easier, how that fits in a regulatory space that was written before this existed. And, like because crypto and NFTs have made such a huge impact in the last couple of years, regulators are moving much faster than they usually do to try and address it because I think they're trying to take a risk-adjusted version of, well, how do we make sure people aren't just getting scammed with, okay, no, this is a legitimate, mechanism and a legitimate piece of infrastructure that can move us forward. They're still trying to wrap their heads around it, and so the best thing we can do is kind of provide as much guidance as we can and have a perspective on what we think should happen because there is a world where they say, yeah, cryptocurrency should be treated XYZ, and that might be fair, but we need to be clear on how NFTs are different and how people purchasing NFTs might be different to people purchasing, securities or whatever else that might all sit in a similar space for a regulator. But for us, working with MoonPay was great because they have a lot of the licenses and they do like a lot of the things that are required to meet those regulatory hurdles, and we can rely on them to do that so that we can focus on more core things, which isn't necessarily like, running background checks on people.
Got it. I guess what I also wanted to double check was this MoonPay integration special in any way where it gives us a good position? Because I'm not sure if people appreciate the work slash impact of having this. Because in my view, for example, the Immutable X marketplace is probably one of the marketplaces that has this integration, whereas a lot of the popular quote unquote marketplaces don't even allow you any sort of credit card interaction, which is huge.
Yeah. So to the point of like making Immutable X more accessible, if you are a like super crypto new person, the concept of, oh, well, you have to get a wallet with MetaMask. Please install XYZ. Don't forget your C phrase because there is no one to help you. And then please go on to, an exchange on L1, buy some stuff, like do the KYC, buy some stuff, pay some gas, and then, oh, now you want to buy NFTs on Immutable X. Awesome. Please deposit money into the L2. Oh, you don't really understand what that means. Why don't the wallets just like connect? Okay, well, like let's have that conversation, or like someone will go Google that to understand it, and then okay, it has now been like 24 hours before you can actually engage with Immutable X is like not a good user flow, right? And to my point before, crypto people are willing to do it because they understand that once you have currency in Immutable X, you can go do a bunch of things and you can trade, and there's like a whole bunch of upside. But that's because like the crypto community is invested, is well researched, understands, and we want to get to a place where like people can just do stuff. And so the MoonPay integration is different because we worked really closely with them to actually make sure that we can cut all of that friction. And so when you put in your credit card details on MoonPay and then the currency just appears immediately onto your L2. So what that means is if you are a new person, you don't have to interact with L1 at all. You don't ever have to pay gas fees at all. Right, and that is like a way smoother and faster transition than going the long way around. And what that also means is like if you are a new person, you go, oh, I need crypto to engage. Well, how do I do that? There's a button, and then you go into like a payments form which you're like, okay, yeah, this is what I use on eBay and the Iconic and like every other e-commerce site that I engage with. Cool, that's fine. So that's obviously huge benefit for people who know nothing about the space. But even for people who do, it means, okay, you don't have to pay gas twice. You don't have to buy it on L1 and then buy it, like pay it again when you're moving it onto Immutable. Or if you're happy to do deposits, great, but it means that you can get currency faster if there's ever a reason why you need it, like in that second, right? And so yeah, a lot of work went into working with MoonPay to make sure that we're actually getting it straight onto L2.
Got it. Okay, so if I try to rephrase this with my small brain, and I'm trying to be in the shoes of like our traders here, right, within the Immutable X ecosystem. Let's say I'm an Immutable X bag holder, essentially. This is good for me because if we make it user friendly and people don't have to worry about the crypto stuff, then there's a higher chance more people come into the ecosystem, and there's a higher chance I can sell my stuff to a larger range of
Yeah,
audiences. Is that
exactly.
right?
Yeah, so if we think about the cut through, we've had the MoonPay integration on the marketplace. So not all the developers yet, like that's happening now, but on the marketplace, um, for probably a bit over a month. And we've had $1 million go through just on our marketplace. But that's $1 million that like people might not have engaged with because it was too hard. And so if you're trying to sell something, you now have way more people with money to buy it off of you. So that, yeah, it just adds to the liquidity of your items.
Got it. So this $1 million was just from the Immutable X marketplace, and we're only now rolling it out to other partners like I don't know, Collective, Gary V, even. Like imagine the size of Gary V's audience, and now suddenly you can just use their credit card. Is that right?
Yeah, so like when you start looking at partners who are concerned about converting users, like if you have a big audience of people and you have 10% of them who already super into crypto, understand it, have their wallet, good stuff, you still have 90% of people where you have to convince them to get involved, right? And I don't know about you guys, but if someone was trying to convince me to get involved and they're like, cool, there are 18 steps and then you can get involved, a much smaller number of people are going to be like, awesome, I'm going to do 18 steps. Um, but if you were like, it's one step and it's a step the conversion is going to be much, much higher. Right? And that's I think enough people know about crypto or like have heard the buzzwords, right? Like they've read the newspaper, they've heard the buzzword, and it's always just been, it's just a bit too much effort. Like, I don't like, we're gonna ignore the people who like strongly don't believe in it. But there's like a huge proportion of the general population who are like, oh yeah, it sounds interesting. I would be keen to understand what it's all about, but I don't want to spend 45 minutes in front of my computer trying to set it up. So those are the people who are like, no, 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 you really want to get engaged and we're going to make it as easy as possible to engage you.
Got it. Sorry, I just uploaded the video that you sent me. Um, what are the things that people should expect from this video, this demo?
So this video is basically the streamlined version of what we've been building. So what you're going to see is how easy it is to set up and log into your wallet, like create and log into your wallet, and then how easy it is to get funds off of MoonPay.
Got it. Awesome. So aside from MoonPay, what else were the things or successes the mainstream squad is quite proud of that you want to share?
Well, getting Magic on was a really big deal. To my point before, we were really, really interested in making sure there was a user experience that was as light touch as possible for everybody. And so there was always the thing of like, okay, great. Well, if we could get MoonPay, that's awesome. But we would still require people to get an L1 wallet, register with Immutable X, make an L2 wallet, and then do it. And so Magic was our way of being like, oh, awesome. We can basically do one click wallet creation and login. So what Magic is Magic Link is a non-custodial wallet, but you can create it and log into it with just your email. And what happens is you put in your email, it sends you a email to like your Gmail or whatever it is. You click a button and then it authenticates that that's you and you're logged in. And so that is the full process of creating a wallet. If you compare that to the process of downloading a Chrome extension, trying to understand what it wants from you, writing down your seed phrase in 1,000 different places so you never ever ever lose like access to your wallet, because you don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, I had 100 Bitcoin in a wallet in 2011 and now it's gone. Kind of those are the things you don't have to worry about anymore. And obviously, it is a lot more familiar for people who have spent all their time doing like eBay, the Iconic, and Gmail and Facebook, right? And so that is like those two things together mean that I could probably get my, cousin who doesn't really think about the internet as anything more than emails to actually engage. And obviously, like those who've used MoonPay, they do KYC you. To my point before, like they are legally required to. But once that first friction is done, you can just buy more. And we actually think that's a really good thing because we want to be able to say, look, like we aren't trying to hide from you. We have legitimate users who want to do legitimate things. And so we will work with you to make sure it makes sense. And I think that's something that super important for us as establishing ourselves as like, we are here for a long time and we're going to be working with you guys and the regulators to make sure that, this is workable for us rather than trying to like hide forever.
Got it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was a really nice comment here in the community text section that, wow, that's nice. It's just less than 2 minutes. I think that rings really true to me as well. I remember when I was trying to do my wallet for the first time and have a transaction, it was like 10, 20 different steps. It took me the whole day or half a day to just try and figure this out. And now, from multiple different steps, you've essentially come and combined steps or remove steps altogether to just a few steps, maybe two, three, whatever, with Magic and MoonPay together. And suddenly, when you try to convince somebody, as you say, the rest of the 90% that is a bit iffy about getting into the NFT space, it's now much easier because they don't have to deal with the trouble. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think there's like
Got it.
so many people who are so intrigued that just can't justify the time commitment to set it up. And I can't remember who said it, but like, gas free trading is one of the most exciting things and most addictive things because you get to do so much cool stuff and you just don't have to think about it. And where it sucks to lose people is people who don't even get to have that experience in the first place. And we've already lost them. And those are the people where I'm like, no, no, trust me, invest the 10 minutes, it'll be worth it.
Yeah, now that you mention it, that's a very good point. If you try to get people to come into crypto mainstream, I mean, like there's so many barriers. There's what is it? I can't understand it. And then when I try to get into it, you tell me that there's gas and transaction fees. And then even if I'm willing to pay that, there's another barrier, which is friction, user experience, getting a wallet, and then even like not me being able to use my credit card. There's this barrier and wall after wall. And what you're saying is we've essentially come in and tried to destroy those walls one by one. First for carbon neutral, next for gas free trading, and now mainstream squad has come in like a hero and removed being able to use your credit card, and now you don't even need to use a wallet, you just need to use your email like normal. You're basically a hero, you're just removing all the walls, is that right?
Well, it's building an experience that I would have loved to have. Because like
Oh, fair enough.
I'm definitely of the cohort of like, oh, it's just a bit hard. And now that I'm here, I'm like, no, 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 just do it. Trust me, just do it. And so trying to convince someone to spend 5 minutes like over coffee, just like, yeah, do it on your phone, it'll be fine. Like that is so much easier than like, cool. Let me block out half an hour to 45 minutes in your calendar, and then I will send you the 6 different like Google responses as to how to set this up. Yeah, it's just, I want to make it easier for my friends to get involved and buy things off me.
I think I think you should change the mainstream mission to that. I want to get it, make it easier for my friends to buy things off me. I think that rings very much better. Um, anyway, next in that case, what's the next wall that the mainstream squad is trying to break then? What's in the roadmap?
Oh, roadmap fun times. Okay. Like I mentioned before, we want to build out MoonPay more because right now you can buy ETH, which is great. But there are going to be, gains and assets that aren't denominated in ETH. So we want to add USDC, IMX, and then, hopefully like GOG and Gods as well, which will be great. But then the other big one that we're working on is getting off ramp. So that in the same way that you can use MoonPay to buy stuff, we want people to be able to use MoonPay to sell stuff, and that will get deposited straight to your bank account. The first version of that will be somewhat geographically limited to US, UK, and EU, but we're working with MoonPay to try and get like full global coverage. Because obviously we want everyone to be able to sell out of their stuff if they want to. But we're really trying to build a full experience where we give you an easy way to convert your crypto back into fiat, but with the goal that there is just so much good stuff to do on L2 you wouldn't really bother. But we definitely want to be able to give people that option.
Got it. So are you telling me no more waiting time for withdrawals? If I want my money out, I can do it instantly and in cash even.
Yeah, it'll go straight to cash, and it'll go to your bank account. It yeah, the specific timing on that, I think it might be like 10 minutes, but it's definitely not like an extended wait, which is super exciting. Because again, like if you're a mainstream user or you're not necessarily like I want to hold, X amount of ETH, then this is a way to give you that flexibility. And I think for a lot of people, it's also just it's important to know it's there, even if it doesn't end up being the thing you use the most.
Awesome. I'm definitely excited for that. What else? What's next? More. I want more. More features, more stuff.
The other things that we're working on is, like I said, for primary drops, making sure that like making it even easier so you don't even need to go and buy crypto and then use crypto to buy your asset. We're working on just being able to put in your credit card details and then you just get the NFT sent to you. That is kind of like holy grail in terms of making it easy, right? Because it is exactly the same as what you would be doing if you were buying or if you were going through any microtransaction in any game, if you were buying any asset kind of anywhere. That is like what we're trying to do. So those are the main things on our roadmap for the next kind of the next quarter, which is super exciting. And then obviously like we're going to work with our partners to get it onto their platforms as much as we can, because we want everyone to be able to access all the cool things as fast as they can.
Nice, awesome. Before we get to the questions from the community, maybe if you want to share any challenges or any key takeaways that you think the community should know.
Things that are hard for us, especially with things like payments and whatever, is kind of working through that regulatory piece, because we want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to be compliant with, all the developing regs and whatnot. That's unsurprisingly not super easy. And also kind of we're spending a lot of time teaching partners why they should be interested in the space, because, like MasterCard has decided that they will support crypto specifically on their own. But like we are having those kinds of conversations with all of the different processes to be like, you guys really want to be in a position to support us and our community and our users, because this is going to be huge for you. That takes up a lot of time and is surprisingly sometimes a bigger hurdle than like the awesome Eng team here building stuff. And so, I just want to kind of like say we appreciate the patience from you guys. I know you guys have been asking for some of this stuff for a while, and we hear you, and we're working on it. But yeah, it's a big education piece, not only for the users but also for the people who are like providing those rails. So yeah, that's been hard, but it's been good every time you can see it click in someone's mind that they're like, oh, okay, I got it, I understand.
Controversial question. Why should we care about regulations? Like, you don't see Uniswap or, I don't know, maybe even Arbitra thinking, oh, what would the regulatory people say?
Yeah, so there are two ways to think about it, right? The first one is them. Why do we care? We do what we want, son. That's one way. Um, we don't necessarily think that's the wisest road to go down. The other road is the one that we've kind of selected, is like have a conversation and help educate them, because they can very easily or try very hard to make it extremely difficult to build out the type of projects, to build out the type of ecosystems that people actually want. Um, and to the point around kind of wide scale adoption, there are people who aren't going to care whether or not like it is regulatorily okay, but there are a lot of people who are going to care. Like there doesn't need to be that many newspaper articles being like the SEC bans crypto full stop for investors, like mainstream users, like to just be like, okay, I'm not interested in getting involved. And to kind of what I mentioned before, it's important for us to get that mainstream adoption, because that kind of, rising seas carries all boats kind of thing. Everyone benefits from it being like an accepted and kind of respected industry. And really part of that is like once it's regulated, it kind of means that there are protections for people as well, right? There are guidelines. It means that there is a way for people to make sure that they are protected from like rug pulls or whatever. And so for us, it is important that we get our voice heard, because we want to make sure that they don't go overboard and end up regulating it so much and incorrectly to the point where, it just they kill it anyway. Not because they wanted to, but because they just didn't understand. And so ignoring the problem, I think, is kind of somewhat a short term solution to it. And so, yeah, I think for us, we have seen that like it is better to engage, so at least that we can be part of the group of people who informs them how like the communities really feel about it, how they really work and stuff like that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's go to questions now. So for the people who ask questions, I'll skip the questions that are regarding the marketplace and the tokens, because as we've been explaining today, this is the mainstream squad and they have a different scope. So even if they did give an answer, they wouldn't be able to give you like the full answer. With that in mind, I'll skip to questions more related to the mainstream squad. So for example, from Cosmic Lizard, what's happening in Q1? Let's make sure the scope is just what's happening in Q1 for the mainstream squad.
Yeah.
Have at it, Lynn.
So Q1, we are going to get USDC and IMX onto MoonPay, which is very, very exciting. We will have off ramp largely progressed. I don't want to say done because I don't want 55 people to come for me. I will say we will have off ramp largely progressed, and maybe if we're lucky and you've all been nice to me, we'll hopefully have that out as well. So those are like the key focuses for Q1.
Got it. And just to clarify for other people who don't know, off ramp is when you change your crypto to actual fiat cash, right?
Yeah. You sell out.
Got
Yeah.
it. The sellout. Yes, for sure. Next is from Akram of Fantasy Labs. Question: Are you both drinking tea? I'm drinking coffee. How about you, Lily?
I have sparkling water.
Ah, fancy, fancy.
It's kind of warm
Well,
today.
I hope that answers your question, Akram.
Yeah, it's kind of warm today, so that's gonna
Yeah,
be my
definitely.
excuse for not having tea.
Next is NJ. Who is IMX's greatest competitor and why? I guess you can use this from the perspective of the mainstream squad. Who's like a competition? Who do you don't want to lose to?
Oh, that's such a hard question. I think the reason I say it's hard is because being like reducing friction is a goal for a lot of people and a lot of our peers. And so kind of like everyone who is B2B is our competitor. Um well, I think obviously there's lots of things being built on Solana, and from like a user experience that they're doing great things, but I think it's always about a holistic trade-off you're making there. But yeah, it's too hard. Next question. Too hard to pick one. Next question.
That is okay. Next question. Next question. From Bubbles. The marketplace is not. I don't know what the question here is, though. Okay, that's a feature request. Sorry, Bubbles. We will skip that in that case. Um, Hi, everyone. Is IMX planning to release a DEX platform in the short term? I guess the question here is a DEX platform within the mainstream squad scope?
It is not.
If not, who?
It is not.
Okay, got it, got it. Who should Apollyono chase and hunt for this question? Which squad?
Sorry, what was that? Who?
Um, from Apollyono, are we planning to release a DEX platform?
Oh, which squad? Oh, that's a good question.
Yes.
It's probably the token squad is probably the one who would be thinking about it. Don't tattle on me and tell them I send them your way.
Don't worry, Apollyono. We will have the token squad back again during the community tea time in a week or 1 month probably. So from Domo Kill, MoonPay was a great accomplishment. So congratulations on that. What are other future plans you have to onboard more users?
Yeah, so we're going through a piece right now where we're trying to understand what the other user frictions are. So like if people don't want to use Magic, what is it? Is it social logins? Is it and kind of like what would those social logins be attached to? All of that is kind of like on our backlog while we work through the immediate kind of roadmap. Yeah. So I think we yeah.
Got it. Here you go. Oh, and then on Domokill, on OpenSea, I think there's a different squad tackling that, so we'll tackle that some other time. And next question is from, oh no, not question, from Buena Proteina or Hexabro. He's telling us that we should take a look at treasure.lol, which might be our greatest competitor. So take note of that, Lily. Hello. Sorry, just taking a look at the questions. Oh, okay. Good question from BB1. Is MoonPay like MetaMask?
It is not. So Magic is like MetaMask, in the sense that it's a wallet and you can engage with it. MoonPay is an exchange. So think instead of going to Binance or CoinList or wherever to buy currency, you use the MoonPay widget to do it instead for you. And instead of Binance or CoinList or whatever sending the currency you bought onto like your L1 wallet, MoonPay sends the currency you buy directly onto your L2 wallet. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying that. Here's a good question from Verbal Shadow. How do you propose to provide protections when blockchain transactions are actually permanent.
Yeah, it's super interesting, right? So modern chargebacks are an issue that plagues basically all digital asset providers, not just crypto, but literally like if you buy a book off Kindle and then you claim oh, it was a fraudulent transaction, like how did they get the book back? And so in our current setup, MoonPay is the one that deals with any kind of like fraud or transaction pieces. And basically, the final decisions are made by like the big credit card holders. So, like your MasterCard and Visa, there's like a full process in the background as to how they kind of just determine whether or not there should be a chargeback or anything like that. But part of doing KYC is part of the protection, right? Because when they know who you are and you have to kind of show them your ID or whatnot, it lets them know, okay, cool, the person using this credit card is the right person. And that's kind of like one of the first steps. The other one is obviously from a regulatory perspective, how do they think about these things? Because, yeah, to your point, the value of blockchain is that, you can make permanent and auditable transactions, and it would be a bad regulatory outcome if you basically undermined that. So that's definitely one of the things that the regulators have to work through, and that we want to have input on.
Awesome. And here's a question from Hexabro. How would you push like crypto communities into Immutable X? So he frames his question of kind of like, hey, here's like a popular crypto project. From the mainstream squad's perspective, what are you going to build or what are you going to do to help convince those popular projects to move over to Immutable X?
Yeah. So I think we don't need to necessarily think about kind of the others versus us in terms of like mainstream people versus people who are already in the community. I think it is more about how do we turn those mainstream users into crypto users. The reason that that's important is if we can say to any of these big projects, hey, the way our protocol and the features we've built mean that there will be more people looking at your project, more people engaging with your project. It'll be easier for you to attract and convert users. That's really compelling, regardless of whether those users are crypto people or not, right? Because if I can put more people in front of you, that means you have a better chance of turning those people into dedicated community members, right? Because like you have a compelling project, you have a compelling value proposition. What you don't have is an easy way to get eyeballs in front of you and to get hands kind of like engaged. And so by building these things that reduce friction, that's our value prop, where we go to them and say, if you were on us, the 100 people who are looking at you, instead of converting 10 of them, you can convert 40 of them. And that's an extra 30 people you can add to your community. I think that's super compelling.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The way I translate that in my head is kind of like, if you put yourselves in these project shoes, if they're already successful, then chances are the problem that's top of mind for them is, how do I get more people? How do I get more people buying my brand/collection? And most likely the crypto community is kind of saturated at that point. And what they'll look to is, how do I get the masses to buy my stuff? And if we can say, actually, the masses are with us because we have a great experience, then there's a higher chance of them considering us to be a platform of choice, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good. I'm happy that I'm understanding this correctly. Tell me if I'm wrong. Next is from JV Rafi. So as the NFT market grows, there's also a high amount of scam. Now, as for IMX, how strict is IMX going to be going through the project background of these things?
My best place to answer this?
Not sure if that's totally within
I was just
scope.
gonna be like, whoa.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not
I
sure.
think there's two ways to take this, right? One is like we mean the marketplace, in which case, Nigel, please get the marketplace team on here to answer your question. But at its, we're assuming it's not just the marketplace. I would say like a permissionless protocol. We want to make sure we stand with that principle. But there are definitely things that we can definitely do education pieces for our community, for our partners on like how do we identify these things, and how do we make sure it goes well. But I don't know if I have an answer for would we as Immutable X, the protocol provider, do like culling. I'm not sure.
Got it. Yes. No problem. We will put this question to the marketplace team when they come in. Don't worry. Um, so we're almost to the end of the questions. I'll give people a few more minutes to ask their final questions. In the meantime, Lily, do you have like final words or key takeaways that if there's one thing people should remember once they come out of this like AMA, what would that be?
I think for us is we're trying to grow our engaged community as much as we can. And we're trying to make it as easy as we can to convert people into like really big promoters and supporters, because we think once they're here we think they'll see that very easily, but barriers to entry are a bit high. So if people have thoughts and feelings around a pain point as a user they have where they're like, oh, I've tried to convince my sister, my brother, my friends, whatever, to get engaged and they just won't because of X, let us know, because that's definitely something we want to know, and that's something we want to fix. Um, so yeah, I'm very excited that we can hopefully bring some more great stuff to you guys. So you won't be the one crypto friend in your friend group. You can make everybody a crypto friend.
Awesome. How do people let you know? Should they just tag you in
Yeah,
Discord or is there a preferred way?
tag me in Discord. Be my friend.
Awesome. Thank you. These are the final questions. Staking and live trading, not within the mainstream squad, so we'll get the token squad to answer that next time. As for NJ, final question. I'm not sure if you're able to answer this, Lily, but his question is, or her question is, maybe from a talent perspective, especially in Australia, where are you seeing most of the great crypto talents go, aside from Immutable X?
That's a good question. I think like if anyone knows an engineer, please let us know because we're definitely growing fast enough. I mean, I think we're definitely attracting some of the really great crypto talent. I think Australia uniquely is in a position where there's a lot of really awesome crypto companies just like scattered around a 3 block radius of where we're in the city. But like I think it depends. Like if people really want to build games and stuff, there's Illuvium's definitely like a really big peer of ours. But if they want to do more protocol level stuff, like I don't think there's a better place to work in Sydney or Melbourne or Australia.
Exactly. That's a low-key pitch. If you're in Australia and you're interested in crypto or blockchain,
Please come
message us or
hit us
message our
up. Hit
talent
us
team.
up. We've got spare table.
Cool. That's pretty much the end. I'm sure Lily can stay around and answer questions in the text channel later. Final words. I actually have a final question. Sorry, this is not connected to technical stuff. This is more casual. What is one thing you do for free? Absolutely, one thing you'd love to do even if it was for free and you're not paid.
As it generally in life or like somewhat related to our
Gen-
jobs.
Generally in life, something to help get people to know you more.
Oh, I would love to foster pets. Um, like if I had no need for money or anything else, I would love to foster pets. I currently live in a one-bedroom apartment with carpet does not make it conducive for having any kind of pets around. But yeah, I'd probably go move to a farm and just foster animals for a while.
Oh wow, animals. Which pets are you very keen to foster? Oh, hello,
Sorry,
Lily.
yeah, sorry, I lost that last question.
Yeah. Which kind of pet would you love to foster aside from the traditional cats and dogs?
So, rabbits and turtles and reptiles. I really wanted to get like a small snake, like a cute small one that won't eat me or kill me in my sleep. And my partner was kind of just like, "How about we don't do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's it." Because no, like being like
Oh my god.
being having too many pets is one thing, but having like multiple reptiles tends to put you in another category of like this person might be a bit intense, which is fair enough.
Now I know what to get you as a pet.
I think we'd have to clear it. I think you need in Australia. I think you need a license to own a reptile.
I'm sure we can find some hiding in the
Maybe we can
bush.
get an
I'm
office
sure.
reptile. I don't think people are allergic to reptiles as much as they're allergic to cats and dogs. Office reptile is my
Yeah,
my
exactly.
go-to.
Hypo
Yeah, I
hypoallergenic
will.
pets. That's the thing.
We love it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Lily. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Once again, that was Lily from the Mainstream Squad. If you have any questions regarding that, please tag her.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. We'll see you next time. We'll have her again in a few weeks. Maybe even another guest from the Mainstream Squad. Again, thank you. Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye.